and it's so technological, the control grid they have in place, and then like it's
absolutely.
Really...
But listen, 10 years ago, a year ago, there wouldn't be 30 people meeting in your town in Norway to discuss the real rulers of this planet. That's the beginning of the end for these people. They miscalculated. They're going to lose. Good job, Gareth. Tabit calling us from Saudi Arabia. You're on the air. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Alex. I've been a long-time listener, and I admire your work exposing the true conspiracy on this world. I can tell you that I've seen almost every documentary you've made, and I've also translated some to Arabic.
Thank you.
You see, I just want to convey the Arab people thoughts about these revolutions that are happening across the Arab world.
Okay.
It's obviously a staged revolutions, staged events for secret agendas. You see, what happened in Egypt was simply a military coup. What's happened in Tunisia has devastated Tunisia and Egypt. In Yemen, you see killings and signs of regime change, other countries interfering with Yemen's policies. In Syria, you see massacres happening, ganged groups attacking civilians. So it's basically a war on the Arab world as we Arabs see it.
It's a destabilization, and then after everybody riots, they can put in their people. Same thing with Muammar Gaddafi. And I'm telling you, Saudi Arabia is next, and this is what the Bilderberg Group is discussing. Please help us, even though you can't obviously be there. Help us spread the word worldwide through social networks for everybody who can in Europe to be at the demonstration against the Bilderberg thugs Saturday high noon in St. Moritz there in Switzerland. And thank you, sir. Hopefully you'll call back again. In fact, I want to have shows more in the future where for an hour or two, maybe once a week, we just take calls from certain regions of the world. Check in with Latin America, Asia, the Middle East, Europe, Russia, Canada. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, as we globally get the word out about the tyrants that are our enemies. Okay, we're going to shift gears for the next 20 minutes or so, and I look forward to having her up for a full hour in the near future. We're joined by Katherine Albrecht, who's an amazing GCN Radio host every day for 2 hours after my show. Her website's katherinealbrecht.com, or you can link through to it, or hear her show at gcnlive.com, all over national television, coast to coast AM. Has addressed major governments, you name it. And I remember hearing, 4 or 5 months ago, that she had breast cancer and that she was going to undergo treatment, chemotherapy. And then I talked to Ted the other day. I didn't mean to get into it on air. And Ted said, yeah, I talked to Katherine. She's got stage 3, her words, pushing stage 4. And then I took that to mean that, there was a good chance we could lose her. And I went on air and said, let's all pray for her. And I hate to talk about this while she's on the line, but I hope that, why is it the good die young? We need to pray for her. And then Katherine, I didn't hear it, but I was told, because one of my crew was listening in the car here locally, she's on locally, and heard her saying, well, no, she's fighting, she's good, she's going to beat it, and that's the attitude. And when I got flooded with thousands of emails and hundreds of calls, saying she needs to take intravenous vitamin C, she needs to do this and that. I know she's into nutrition. She's clearly, we'll talk to her, but I apologize if it caused her too big a problem with the outpouring of concern for folks. But she says, nope, she's going to beat it. And she's not stage 4, she's stage 3. And I called Ted back and said, now, you told me that. And he said, well, she just said she's stage 3 pushing stage 4 was the quote. But we've got her here to talk about that with us today, and also her incredible work. Really being instrumental as a lightning rod worldwide, Dr. Katherine Albrecht, exposing this societal control grid, the RFID chips, the face scanning cameras, the TSA scanners. I mean, she's really been a big challenge to them, analyzing what the technocrats are doing. And so we'll also talk some about that with her here today, launching big, famous boycotts against Gillette that made them stop putting the chips in it, Michelin, just amazing work. Katherine, it is great to have you here with us.
Well, thanks, Alex, and I want to thank you for all the prayers and all the outpouring of support over the last couple of days. Thanks for your wonderful listeners. I know they're all over the world, and they have been just a huge support, and I want to thank everybody who's written and called in. Just a wonderful bunch of people out there. And as you said, I'm doing my best to fight this thing. I'm not stage 4. I do not have terminal cancer. I have treatable breast cancer, but it's going to be a long road of treatment, unfortunately.
Well, you're going to beat it then. That's good. And, again, I'm sorry that got messed up in translation. It's just that I get on air. I've been told something by Ted, the owner of Genesis, that I got, I guess, a little bit wrong, thank God. And then I got a little emotional at the end of the show and just brought it up. I wasn't going to talk about it, actually, until I'd talked to you. And I've been planning to get you on the show to talk about a host of issues. And you know how it is now. Months go by like seconds. I mean, it's just I wake up and it's a new year. So we've definitely, as soon as you're able, I want to have you up for a full hour. I know coming up in a few weeks you're going to quit, or in a week or so you're going to quit your weekday show and go to the weekends. Catherine, first tell us about that, and then tell us about your work, which I know so many of us are proud of, and you've been a great example to all of us exposing tyranny.
Well, you know, I've been working ever since the Spy Chips days. In fact, even before that, in 1989, I founded NoCards.org, which is the website that opposes the supermarket frequent shopper cards. A lot of people in Texas and elsewhere joining me in big protests against the rollout of those cards, which basically are food registration systems. They've now gone worldwide. They've got these things installed in Yemen and Jamaica and Korea and you name it to essentially require a card to buy your groceries so they know everything you buy, itemize it, know when you have a baby, whether you've got a cat, whether you have, diabetes, you name it. It's all in there. So I did that initially, NoCards.org, and then, of course, Spy Chips came out. That's our best-selling book that exposed all the shenanigans with radio frequency identification microchips, or RFID. Been working on that for quite some time. We have a new website out I want to refer your listeners to, which is chipmenot.com, and that's based on the research that I did along with the Associated Press to expose the fact that those implantable microchips are causing cancer in dogs and cats. And now we've got a big push over in the UK where they're saying they want to make microchipping animals mandatory. We just had the California State Senate just passed a bill that will require all shelter animals in California to get microchipped. So I would encourage everybody, chipmenot.com. We've got the case studies and the stories of the animals that have developed cancer around those microchips, fast-growing tumors. And, in fact, we do know that between 1 and 10% of laboratory animals, we're talking mice and rats, when you implant them with a microchip, develop a fast-growing tumor that eventually kills them. So dangerous stuff. We should not be messing with microchips in living flesh, certainly not in laboratory animals, not in pets, and definitely not in human beings. So chipmenot.com is the website. There's a big lawsuit out I want to let people know about against Merck. And Merck is the parent company of the Home Again microchips. People have probably seen the ads for Home Again, hey, chip your dog, chip your cat. Well, there's a lawsuit out by a woman here in Massachusetts whose cat developed cancer around the microchip, and she's suing them for the vet expenses.
And there's major studies that show that, but I also see ads everywhere now getting everybody ready for microchips in pills that Big Pharma is putting out.
You got it. Well, ultimately, Alex, as you know, probably better than anybody else, the plan is to microchip every physical object on Earth, every tree, every bumblebee. They've actually done that. They've actually put tiny little microchips on bumblebees.
Smart dirt. And the Pentagon says they can then search the real world like Google and actually predict the future. They're attempting to build a computerized crystal ball is their holy grail.
Yeah, it's insanity, and then you combine that with what Google's up to. Speaking of Google, I can't remember if it was Sergey Brin or Larry Page, but one of the founders of Google said, when asked, hey, what do you want Google to ultimately become? They said, like the mind of God. So you're looking at that going, okay, so you guys want to know everything about everything at all times, which is exactly what God does. God is omniscient and omnipotent, and, Google and IBM and all these companies, they're angling for that same kind of power and control, and that's where you get into all of the microchipping. That's also where you get into all of the Google products that spy on people. And I always make a point of saying, anytime I have an opportunity, if you have a Gmail account or even if you don't have a Gmail account, but you write to someone with a Gmail account, Google reads all of your email. They take all the keywords out of there, and they put them into a database with your name at the top, so they know what you're writing to people about. I've even had the creepy experience where someone wrote to me through my radio show at CatherineAlbrecht.com. They just sent me an email, and I wrote them back, and then they said it was the creepiest thing. Our email had nothing to do with RFID, but they said every website they went on after that was running RFID ads.
Oh, let me stop you. I remember 5 years ago, Paul Watson wrote an article about it. People couldn't believe it. Google put out a press release to stockholders saying, oh, great news. We're now going to use the camera and microphone to listen to keywords in your house on the computer. But don't worry, a human isn't doing it. A computer's doing it, so it's all right. And then we use that to tailor the ads. And then now schools come out and say, yeah, we're watching your kids at home over the government-issued computers. I mean, they have just broken the dam with this stuff now, throwing it in our face. It's all completely illegal, but they trick you to sign on to it and waive your rights. Katherine, this is scary. I mean, if this isn't the mark of the beast, it might as well be.
Well, I think we're coming to that point, Alex, and especially now Google's got its new Google Wallet where you can make your payments through your cell phone. Of course, I know you've talked about that on your show. And, you know, we're coming to the point where we're going to be eliminating cash, and this omnipotence that I was talking about, Google wanting to be the mind of God, you know, once that gets together with governments, and, of course, China's been hacking into Google and trying to get a hold of those records, the government knows that Google has more powerful records than anything it has. Google knows more about you than the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, and the IRS combined, because we all log on to their search engine and punch in all of our information all day long. So it's a beautiful honey trap to get people to come on and tell what they're thinking about. By the way, this is a good opportunity for me to give you my really good news, which is that Start Page is now serving full Google results. So for people who, I know that many people heard about it first from you, startpage.com, which is the private search engine alternative to Google, has now switched over and is returning 100% Google results. So there's really no more excuse for people to be using Google if you want the good Google results, and I will be the first to admit they've got the best results, search results on the Internet.
Because they're the NSA. It's really a public NSA, so we would accept it. But it's now admitted it was NSA, CIA money funded. And StartPage.com is so incredible, and you're the spokesman for StartPage. And people should all use StartPage.com. I'm glad you brought that up, Katherine.
Well, and what's changed now, Alex, since we last spoke, is that StartPage is now actually, so you put in your query, you look up whatever, the IRS or Ninth Amendment, whatever you're looking up.
Isn't it really a proxy now with that function? Yeah. So they're a shield in front of you.
And so what they'll do, they take your query, they submit it to Google, but not through your ISP. They do it through their servers in California and in the Netherlands. They get back the results. They serve them to you with total privacy. Nobody records your IP address. Nobody puts cookies on your browser, reads any cookies. It's third-party certified, and it even has SSL encryption. So StartPage.com, as you mentioned, I'm a spokesperson because I had him on my radio show 2 years ago just as a guest, and I said, you know, I'm sick of Google. What can I do instead? And I fell in love with this company. And a lot of people said, well, I don't want to use StartPage because I want Google results. And so we said, well, why don't we just start returning Google results? Now, I know there's a lot of people listening who are probably like, Google, yuck. I don't want anything to do with them. And that's why xquick.com, which is the parent company of StartPage, is still returning results from everybody but Google. So if you're one of those folks who doesn't even want to see the word Google on your screen, you can go to xquick, and that's IXQUICK, xquick.com, where third-party... You know, it does the same thing, but with everybody but Google. Well,
Katherine, we got to shift gears from it because we're going to break. I just want to say this listening to you. You travel all over the world. You've got all these organizations. You've done so much. You're so well-spoken. You're a doctor at Harvard. And here you are. I know took chemotherapy yesterday because when I called you, you were at the hospital. And here you are, so well-spoken, so focused. I have a bad night's sleep. I don't want to be on air. Here you are in this serious fight, and you don't even want to talk about yourself. You're passionately discussing liberty and privacy and standing up to tyranny. And I got to be honest, if I was in your position, I just don't know if I could be as strong as you are, and you're a wonderful person. Everybody's got to pray for Katherine Albrecht. They've got to go to her website and support her and make sure her information gets out to more people than ever. We'll be right back with Katherine Albrecht in a final segment. Then we'll take you back live to Bilderberg 2011. Stay with us. We need this video at the Alex Jones channel to go mega viral. It's the fall of Bilderberg. The people strike back. The protest, high noon. coming up this Saturday in St. Moritz, going back to Katherine Albrecht, katherinealbrecht.com. You can go there and check out all the other websites and organizations. Just invaluable information. Katherine, I'm also sorry when we made that not entirely correct announcement on the show a few days ago that we crashed your website, but